Hello ladies and gentlemen, the name's Miles, and welcome to Kilometer Reviews. Today we are going to talk about a very old school game, the pinnacle of first-person shooters, Doom. As you may know, the new Doom is coming out to Xbox One, PS4, and PC on May 13th, 2016. Since the game is releasing soon, I figured I would give you guys a rundown on what the game is about, how it has aged, and the impact it left on the gaming industry. This game really held a big portion of my heart when I was a kid, making me realize there was more to games than just platformers and adventure games. It also got me more attached than the GoldenEye and Turok shooters from the 90s. Those are great games, but none of them held the torch like Doom did. Today we'll be talking about the Doom games on the PC, but first I will show you one of the versions of Doom that started it all, the Windows 95 port, the original game with no enhancements. This is the version that came with the Doom Collector's Edition that I ordered back around 2003, so it is one of the early versions that were available to young gamers with a computer at home. Basic to set up with a fairly low resolution and a few buttons to assign to the keyboard. Afterwards, all you needed now was a dimly lit room, some good speakers, and then it was you and the Doom Marine out to save humanity from the legions of hell. Damn, it's been over 20 years already since this monumental masterpiece has been released, and it still has its flow and atmosphere intact. You, all alone, with just your pistol and fists, surrounded by evil in many forms, and nothing but determination and cunning to make it to the next stage. Back in the day, all you had to do was focus on killing enemies, trying not to get ambushed, restoring lost health and armor, getting keycards to progress through a level, and my personal favorite, searching for hidden secrets, as there are a lot of them scattered across each level. As you can see here, there was no looking up or down, or a crosshair to help your aim. This required skill and precision in order to shoot higher and lower or distant enemies, while also making sure you were quick on your feet. Certain walls and sections of the stage were accessible by pressing the use key, allowing you to access secret areas that hold items that can make your life easier while playing. You also had to watch for areas that you couldn't access just yet, because once you progress far enough in most levels, new areas will open up, allowing you to find out what was waiting for you on the other side. Weapons and ammo, health and armor, or sometimes just monsters waiting to be killed. There are also many different secrets hiding in places you wouldn't expect. Finding these out will take a certain amount of both guessing and understanding which actions will trigger the secrets hidden around. Once you reach the end of the level, most of the time you will see an exit sign and a switch that will take you to the level progression screen, showing you the map of the episode you're in, your total of enemies killed, items collected, and secrets found, as well as the time to beat the stage. Doom's design and straightforward combat made it easy to get into, allowing any type of player to jump right in and have hours of fun. My later childhood and early teen years were heavily populated with the Doom games, and many of the other games that have used the Doom engine. Nowadays, when you look at the original version, you can really see how limited the engine was and how it has aged. Which isn't a bad thing. It was groundbreaking and revolutionary back in the day over 20 years ago. Millions of people that managed to get a copy were simply amazed at what their computer was running. Doom came very late on December 10th, 1993, from the small company called id Software, and they had a very interesting strategy for releasing the game. The first episode, consisting of 9 levels, was distributed on floppy disks absolutely free. They called it shareware. Being so easy to transfer on floppy disks from computer to computer, there were tens of thousands of people playing before the new year. It is believed it was the most installed software on computers, even more than Windows itself. It's really cool to think that a small team of people were working together to create and publish their own project. One project that would forever change the landscape of first-person shooters, pretty much starting the genre by itself. Although it wasn't the very first game with a first-person perspective, and it wasn't id Software's first game either. They released a game the year before, having Doom to take up the mantle. The same formula, but a more simple and retro feel to it. The great-grandfather of first-person shooters, Wolfenstein 3D. But Doom was the landmark title that everyone was talking about, having large amounts of game reviewer attention and video game magazines featuring it for the months to come after release. Some older friends and relatives of mine would remember playing or hearing about this when it came out, which proves that this game really did impact a lot of people. Even casual gamers and people that weren't into the video gaming scene were hearing about Doom through friends and family, co-workers, and other forms of media, leaving the impression that Doom was here to stay. And it's been over 20 years. 20 years of modifications, future titles like Doom 2, Doom 64, and Doom 3 releasing long after the original game, and a reboot coming out this year on May 13th, 2016. Now is a very great time to be a Doom fan, or great to get into the franchise fresh with no experience whatsoever. Let's go take a look at one of the many source ports of the game, which allows to experience Doom with enhancements and added features that we only dreamed of having back in the day. After many requests from the community, the Doom engine known as id Tech was released to the general public on October 3rd, 1999. The source code of the game was originally released 2 years before, under a license that you can use to make your own modifications. Ever since, talented modders and programmers have been using this to create their own ports of the game, with features such as multiplayer support, use of modifications, and most notably, updated visuals. Now a source port is the original game's engine, but heavily modified to feel new and modern, with features such as better screen resolutions, more innovative controls, mouse and joystick support, and graphical enhancements that included dynamic lighting and particle effects. GZDoom is the source port I use, the successor to ZDoom. Although this version allows the use of OpenGL rendering, giving us a really impressive way to play such an old school game, and expect little to no problems as it requires a fairly low amount of resources from your computer. So this can run really well on old computers or computers that haven't been upgraded. This has been constantly updated with more and more features, allowing you to use advanced options such as high resolutions with different aspect ratios, advanced sound, heads-up display, and auto map options, as well as a very customizable keyboard and mouse. Alright, since you guys have seen the original version and have an understanding of what a source port is, let's jump right into the review. First off, I will run through the first two stages again, showcasing the added features to give you guys an idea, a comparison of how GZDoom takes his old game and gives it new life. As you can see, the resolution is way higher than the original version, giving more detail to close and distant elements of the game. And now you can look all around with the mouse, as well as having a crosshair if you choose. The use of free aim gives you an advantage to enemies. You are now able to aim right at them and kill them without any trouble. Added lighting effects to the environment and most objects, giving you an immersive feel to dark areas and items on the ground that you can pick up. Messages are now customizable, so you can see all the items and weapons you pick up at the top of your screen. So far, the experience hasn't changed drastically, but the longtime fans that were playing this when they were younger, they can really tell the difference. Weapon flashes from enemies firing their gun and monsters throwing projectiles at you now have lighting to them, as well as explosions from barrels and rockets, so you can see the effects of combat right in front of you. So with all the graphical enhancements, it gives a new experience to old stages, making them feel almost new and fresh. A great but simple addition is the noise and message you get when you find a secret, helping you to maximize the percentage at the end of the stage. This is pretty much the definitive way to play old school Doom. A revamped engine, better controls, better resolutions, and the visual additions that are small but noticeable, creating a revolution in Doom that was well worth the wait. So when it comes to the review itself, I have a list of categories I will cover on each video I do. Most of them are generic, having seen them in many other reviews, but others will be new. The topics I'm covering are story. I will give a summary and initial plot points without giving away major story details and spoilers. Graphics, where we will take a look at the graphics and the artwork style of the game. Sound. This is where I'll provide information regarding the sounds, music, cinematic immersion, and overall quality. Gameplay. Describe and showcase the style of gameplay. Controls, where I will analyze playstyles and control schemes. Performance. I will show you guys the overall performance of the game for the platform it's played on. Multiplayer. This is where you will learn about the many different ways to play multiplayer. Achievements and trophies. Regarding the consoles, this section will cover the overall set list of achievements or trophies. Expansions and DLC. If there is any downloadable content for a game, this is where I will show you and explain what each DLC is about. Price. The amount of money you will have to spend in order to own your own copy, as well as DLC or bundles of the game. I will also talk about other categories, but those will not affect the score of the review, as they are irrelevant when I give the game a score. Those include developers of the game, reception of the release, comparison on different platforms, community of the game. The overall review rating will be 10 points out of 10 depending on each category for review, my own personal thoughts and impressions, and purchase options or recommendations of which version to buy. I love every game that I own, and I don't focus on the game's weak points or the stuff that people don't like. I also don't like the criticism that many people will give a game for minor problems or details that are easily overlooked, so I will only give positive reception towards any game I review. The story for Doom was always simple. You're a marine on Mars that kills demons, but there is more story that comes with it if you look hard enough. What happened was, you were sent there due to a court-martial sentence. You killed your commanding officer after he ordered shootings against innocent people. They decide to send you to Mars to work for the Union Aerospace Corporation, a huge planetary conglomerate. Once you reach Mars, you've been put into a basic security guard post. The UAC that hired you has been doing all kinds of research and experiments. One such experiment came with unforeseen consequences. The teleportation portals have released demons from hell, killing off everyone including scientists, administration personnel, and security, turning them into possessed zombies and demons, causing havoc all over the base. It's your job to clear the area and make sure no demon is left alive. You are left with a pistol, and start off at the area you are assigned to guard, thus beginning the game. You begin on episode 1 having to cross the UAC base with basic weaponry, although you upgrade the more you progress through each level. There are 4 episodes from the first Doom, the last episode being released in an updated retail version, the Ultimate Doom. The beginning episode is knee-deep in the dead, the UAC's Phobos facility, making you go through each section of the base to conclude at a demonic battle against some tough enemies. Between each episode, there will be a small story advancing screen, giving you an idea of what is to come next. 36 levels packed with demons, weapons, secrets, and challenges that will test any new player. The graphics for the game are one of the main reasons everyone loves Doom. Mostly walls with details and yet sometimes complex textures and architecture. The doors that are recognizable from a mile away, some of them having a futuristic design and some just being plain old wooden doors. The demons that have their own color and shape, each having a unique death animation. The items and power-ups that would make you wonder what the hell is that thing. The demonic imagery and scary skyboxes, and probably the most iconic of them all, the weapons. With each having the feel and power that you would expect from a hellish shooter, and since you're using them all the time, you can really tell how much time was put in to make them look hardcore, but not too flashy. Most of them you will find in the first episode, but once you get to the second, you can find all of them and have an arsenal that can withstand hell itself. The sound of Doom is also one of the elements of the game that was very well thought of. The sound effects were powerful and recognizable, with the monsters sounding evil, the weapons being loud, and the doors and elevators letting you know when you aren't the ones using them. Most of the time, the sounds will help you figure out what happened, or what is going to happen. Enemies making noises in the rooms ahead, or secret areas opening somewhere in the map, allowing you to find out where. If a door in the distance is opened, it was probably opened by something. The music was generated with a heavy metal tone in mind, using a MIDI format, with influences from Metallica, Alice in Chains, and many others, my favorite being Pantera. They fit the style of game and became the aspect of Doom that was perfect for the action that was on screen. Overall, the sounds worked together to help create the atmosphere, giving it life when there was a pause in the action. Of course, the gameplay for Doom is viewed from a first-person perspective, with the heads-up display on screen to show you health, armor, which guns you have, the keys you have collected, and the amount of ammo that you have for each weapon. But since I am using the GZDoom source port, I have configured my settings to display a simple HUD that includes the health and armor, a small crosshair, and ammo for my current weapon. The shooting in Doom is top-notch, and the movement is fast and very action-oriented. The amount of time to get used to the movement depends on your skill as a first-person shooter player. Opening doors with the use key, changing weapons, and using the map can be done at any time, allowing you to never stop your momentum while you are mowing down the enemies that are in front of you. This style of gameplay has massively influenced all the other shooters out there, some even using the Doom engine itself. The genre referred to as Doom clones were very popular. Many games that have released afterwards created franchises that you know today. Their earlier games beginning with the Doom engines. The gameplay for Doom was simple, but it was good enough to make you feel fast and powerful. Now Doom is all about the combat, requiring you to adapt and rework your techniques to be more efficient each time you play through the game. Over time you will get used to each stage and how each monster works, how to access the secrets and familiarize yourself to the level layout, further evolving your ability to master the game. Being a long-time Doom fan, I've been able to show friends and family how to beat certain stages or find the super secrets that even the most adept of players will have trouble finding. You will also have to keep track of the amount of ammunition you have for each weapon, and the health and armor that you currently possess. There is no regenerating health, or a way to instantly get back to full strength like modern day shooters. Remember, this is Doom, not Call of Duty, Gears of War, or Battlefield. So the controls for Doom are just like any other PC game out there. Assign the movement keys, the use key, and various other functions for the keyboard and mouse. Mine are set up for single player only, so I don't require the whole list to be filled. The mouse section is pretty straightforward as well. Keep your mouse look on at all times to make sure you use the precision that comes with mouse aiming. There is also joystick support for most of the modern controllers. I have used the Xbox 360 controller on occasion and it works perfectly when it is set up. It will take some time to get used to strafing around and dodging attacks from most of the enemies, but once you've got that down, you'll be able to survive the onslaught from hordes of demons. Always remember to pick up ammo and items after or even in the middle of combat. You'll need them to survive in the most dangerous areas with barely any room for error. The performance for Doom is absolutely stunning on the PC. Feels fast and responsive. Even when the combat is frantic and the enemies are plentiful, there is no slowdown or stuttering. Even with an old computer with no video card installed, I was able to run GZDoom perfectly. Some friends of mine would bring their computers over to see if they can run it, and with a little bit of tampering with the settings, I was able to get a crisp and fast playthrough of the first stage with no hiccups. Even if your computer can't handle the OpenGL rendering, there's a little trick that makes it work in the original software rendering mode. After installation, go into the console and type in vid_renderer0 and restart GZDoom. This will turn off the hardware renderer and run the game in its original form, which is still pretty good and fast, and is far less demanding of your computer. This was the way I was playing it for years, until a friend of mine gave me a video card he wasn't using. Then I was able to play it with the added effects and still keep the game at the peak of its performance. The multiplayer for Doom is fast paced and pretty intense when there are a lot of you playing together. This is the pioneer of deathmatch, letting you kill and blow up your friends while you are all playing on the same network. It's pretty neat to connect and set up matches with each other and scream across the same room, while also laughing and deciding which tactic to use next. It is a little complicated to set up multiplayer, but once you know how, it gets easier each time you do. There are different game modes including deathmatch, team deathmatch, cooperative, capture the flag, and a bunch of ways to customize each game type. With the right programs, there are ways to connect and play with people online, but I feel the multiplayer component of Doom is better suited for local area network play, as the lag and such from using the internet can really get on your nerves. Getting used to shooting at multiple fast-moving targets really tests your skills and pushes you to learn how to further better yourself while playing. The achievements for the Xbox 360 and Steam versions of Doom have some pretty straightforward tasks in order to unlock them. All the episodes must be beaten in order to unlock each episode's specific achievement, and they all have to be beaten on Ultraviolence for the Rampage achievement, being the most time-consuming of them all. For the easier ones, you must finish a level, find all the items in a level, find a secret, kill every monster in any level on the Hurt Me Plenty difficulty or higher. You must also beat a stage on Nightmare to unlock the Nightmare achievement. The hardest ones, I think, are the multiplayer ones. Killing 50 and then 100 enemies in multiplayer will unlock you the online achievements. The reason I say they are the harder ones is because it's near impossible to find a match unless you have 2 copies of the game on 2 different consoles. Overall, they are quite easy achievements once you put the time and effort into getting them all. There is only one official expansion for Doom, and it will most likely come with any version of Doom you buy nowadays. The 4th episode I mentioned earlier, Thy Flesh Consumed, being released in an updated retail version on April 30th, 1995 called The Ultimate Doom. It is possibly the hardest of all the episodes and possibly even harder than Doom 2 or Final Doom's levels. It takes place after Doom's Inferno episode, but before Doom 2's initial stages, being a sort of connector to the games. It is really hard. Trying to figure this out for the first time when I was younger got me frustrated. It needs you to always be quick on your feet as always, while also searching for supplies that are rarely there. Beating this episode on Ultraviolence will require some time and patience, because you will die a lot of times, while you learn how to progress through each stage with the maximum amount of health and ammo. Doom is a timeless classic that knows how to be fun and exciting for its price. And depending on where you buy the game from, it shouldn't take a whole lot from your wallet. It would be really old school to grab an actual floppy disk copy or even the collector's edition. Although that's for the hardcore fans searching for their nostalgia fix. It would be cheaper to get the digital versions. Steam and Good Old Games have them for a very low price, and they also have bundles of all the games together in one package, allowing you to experience the games that influenced multiple generations of gamers. You will need to own a copy of the original game in order to use one of the many source ports, so make sure you can find a copy that won't cost you too much. Back in 2003, the collector's edition containing the Ultimate Doom, Doom 2 and Final Doom cost me about $50, and I had to order it right from the id Software website, but I was able to enjoy them for many years afterwards. Now, if you haven't played through the original Doom game, I strongly suggest you do so, as the new Doom will be released on May 13th in a couple weeks. Now, Doom will always receive high praise from me simply because I was a fan of the original ever since I can get my hands on it. Now that we looked at all the categories for review, I will give the game a score. But first, let's talk about the comparison on different platforms, the reception of the game's release, the developers of the game, as well as the community. Now the comparison on different platforms are identical, being the original versions ported to the consoles, the Xbox 360 version having achievements, and I'm not too sure about the PlayStation version. The reception of the release was highly praised as one of the most influential games of its time. If you were playing first-person shooters in the 90s, you knew about Doom. The developers of the game, id Software, was a small team of people that came together to create something so monumental, a legendary title even 23 years after release. As even the community of the game is still active to this day, releasing maps, mods for the game, new textures, and even whole modification to the game's engine. Now I give the game a 10 out of 10 simply because I was a fan ever since I was able to get my hands on it back in the day. This game is perfect. If you have a chance to play it, I highly suggest you do so. This game will be remembered in the years to come as one of the very first-person shooters that grabbed the attention of millions of gamers all over the world.
In my next video, we will be talking about Doom 2, the second installment of the Doom franchise. And I also want to say thank you for watching. It has been a pleasure.